Yes.
I'll go sit down. Yolanda, here we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Steinberg. I am your mayor. I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Councilmember Jay Schenirer, who you will hear from in just a few moments. I'm also joined by Yolanda Stevenson with the Black Child Legacy project, and also with the Rose Family Center, Jackie Rose, of course, and with RoLanda Wilkins from Birth Mama Healing, two great leaders out in the south area of our city, and you'll hear from them in a few moments as well. I don't think I have to say it, but in some ways, can't say it enough. We have a very serious homeless problem in the city of Sacramento and in Sacramento County. We're not alone, we're not unique, but the problem is right in front of us. We see it every day. And people are experiencing the unimaginable every day. Let's just recount the numbers for a moment. The last point in time count told us that 5,600 total homeless people in Sacramento County, of which 3,900 are unsheltered, living out on the street or in their car or wherever they can find any kind of shelter that is not a home or an apartment. Of those 3,900, 73% of the unsheltered homeless live in our city. That's approximately 2,847 people. Of course, the numbers are not always exact because they shift. It also should be obvious to say that while we are enjoying the summer in August, even though it's a little too hot, that winter will be here soon. Winter will be here before we know it. Last year's homeless death report showed a 75% spike in deaths from the prior year. That was 124 people countywide who died. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock, I will ask my city council colleagues to approve 3 separate but related action items. Number 1 is to approve a low barrier triage shelter at the WX freeway at Alhambra. This effort is being championed by my friend and colleague, Councilmember Jay Schenirer, who is a leader's leader. And I say that because none of this is good or great politically or, frankly, a lot of fun, but it's absolutely necessary. And he's stepping up, and there will be opposition, but there'll be a lot of support too. That's item 1. Number 2, I'm going to call for a 100-bed shelter in Meadowview at the site identified during our community meeting out in the south area 2 weeks ago today, and I will talk in a little bit more detail in a moment about how we intend to proceed with that proposal. Third, we will hopefully approve a very important staff recommendation to repurpose 184 existing shelter beds in the River District, which have been long-term shelter beds. Instead, they will become intensive rehousing centers, triage, case management, services that people need, and to move people through, in and out, as quickly as possible, hopefully on an average of 4 to 6 months, so that we can get then more people off the streets into these shelters. If we say yes to all 3 proposals tomorrow, we will get up to 614 new beds, essentially, in the city of Sacramento. If we can move people through, let's just say conservatively, an average of every 6 months, twice a year, that's over 1,200 people that we can move from the streets to longer term housing every year. We can make a serious dent in this problem and translate the hundreds we have gotten off the streets thus far into thousands. Now let me talk about Meadowview for just a moment. 2 weeks ago, I went out to the community with Councilmember Carr, although we had a different point of view. And we had a very robust, but I think honest dialogue and conversation with the community about the proposal to locate a 100-bed shelter on Meadowview Road. Let me be clear about one thing. For months, all of us have been looking for sites in the South area that meet the definition. The definition is, can something be built quickly? Does it have utilities? And do we control the property? Is it city owned? We found 2 sites. The city found 2 sites. 2 sites. One, the RT site at Florin, and the second one, the Meadowview site. Councilmember Carr, even though it was in Councilmember Scheniner's district, organized hard to oppose that Florin site. We're left now with 1 site. I heard the community. I came in there as an advocate, but as the mayor, I also listened. And I heard people's concerns. I heard that while the community wants to help those who are homeless, they're concerned about people using drugs, and they're concerned about people who might be sex offenders, and they're concerned about the proximity to the community center and to schools. And so I took this and began asking some questions of our COC, our Continuum of Care, Lisa Bates, and the Sac State folks who did the point in time count. And I asked the following questions. How many unsheltered, chronically homeless people, chronically homeless now defined as homeless repeatedly, at least 4 times within the last 3 years, or continuously homeless for at least a year with a disabling condition? How many single women meet that definition in our city? 137. Asked a second question. How many families where the woman is the head of household meet that definition of chronically homeless? 57. The average number of kids, about 2.5. Total number of people, about 143. You add the 2 numbers together, there are 280 women and children who are out there on the streets, who we do not have any option for shelter, a roof over their head this winter. And by the way, those numbers are probably undercounted. So tomorrow, actually today, I'm proposing that the Meadowview shelter be a women and children's only shelter. That it be low barrier, that we admit as many of those 280 women and children who find themselves on the streets without any other option. A very different proposal than the one I originally made to make it be low barrier. There will still be opposition. I know Councilmember Carr will still oppose that, and it'll be up to my colleagues to listen and to make a good, sound decision. People have told me to slow down. I get it everywhere. Mayor, do 1 at a time. Mayor, why don't we just get started with the proof of concept and then move on to the next one? And as the mayor of the city, I can't do it. Not when the numbers are 2,847 chronically unsheltered homeless people in the city. Not when there are 280 women and children who are out there. We can't slow down. And we have the money. We're getting $14 million of new money early next year, we estimate, from the state of California as a result of the HEAT 2 program. And I fought for that money as the chair of the big city mayors, and we were able to almost double the allotment we got from the state, thanks to Governor Newsom and the legislature. We can afford 3 shelters at one time. Other people have other good ideas. For example, we're putting $1 million towards the St. John shelter and the City of Refuge. Wonderful programs. Number one, St. John's has some criteria. They don't necessarily address the plight of the women. and the children who are chronically homeless. And number two, we estimate that between the two programs, we're able to serve about 50 women. And St. John's has some vacant beds, we're told, but it's maybe 30. We're not even sure about that. The demand and the need is there. Bottom line is this: we cannot turn our backs on 280 women and children this winter. We cannot turn our backs on 280 women and children this winter. Doing this in combination with the even more aggressive effort that Councilmember Schenirer is making under the freeway, which has a serious homeless problem, combined with Capitol Park, combined with the repurposing of the existing shelters, combined with St. John's and with the City of Refuge, we can save a lot of lives this year and make a real dent in the problem. That's what I hope happens tomorrow. Jay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. I want to do a couple of things very quickly first, and thank the mayor for his leadership. We don't always agree on everything as well. And going fast and going slow are things that we have to talk about. But bottom line, as he said, is we can't turn our backs on our fellow Sacramentans who are suffering on a daily basis. I also want to thank these two incredible women for the work that they do, particularly the work with young people. We need to really foster a new generation of young people who will take over as leaders and also not rest on their laurels, but continually move forward. So I was walking over here from my other office. It's a really hot day, and I was trying to imagine all of the folks that are outside now and that will be outside in the winter if we do nothing. We cannot do nothing. I've said many times that homelessness is the biggest threat that we have to our city, both financially, but more importantly, morally. Who are we as a community? The most startling number to me, I think, out of the point in time count, out of the 550 surveys that they did, was that 93% of those answering those surveys either were born in Sacramento or had a very strong connection to Sacramento. These are our neighbors, and if we let them be where they are without trying, shame on us. We can't do that. For me, I will have 3 shelters in my district, 2 very small, the City of Refuge, as the mayor talked about, also Wind Youth Center, so that will be serving young people. We have 400 young people, ages 18 to 24, who are homeless. We cannot turn our back on them as well. The WX freeway and the corridor, if you drive down and look underneath the freeway on a daily basis, and I do this almost every day, it's stark and it's criminal that we allow people to spend their lives like that. If we do not reach out to help those folks, again, shame on us. There has been opposition when people say, but my property values are going to go down if we put a shelter there. I don't know how 100 people roaming around the street, if they're doing drugs, if they have no control and no services, helps their property values. When people talk about safety, there will be kids who will be nearby because we do have schools there and we have college track there. I don't know how 100 people roaming the streets doing drugs or whatever they're doing is safer for kids to walk by than 100 people in a shelter with control, with services. So I'm actually excited about this. I think that as we move forward, and it will take us some time, we still have to finish some negotiations with Caltrans. We need to pour an asphalt slab there. To get it, will probably be April or May of next year until we're ready to actually take people in. But I think it will, between the increased police patrols, downtown streets team having 12 people daily, 4 days a week or 20 hours a week, picking up garbage and beautifying the neighborhood, those are things that will help the neighborhood. I want to thank all of the stakeholder groups that are supporting us, and they will be here tomorrow night. They have said to a person, this is important, we have to do something here. I've always said, if you have a better option, come talk to me. I haven't heard of better options. We need to do this. We need to do this for the future of our city. So I am happy to be doing this. It is not easy. It is not easy for the mayor. It's not easy for any of the council folks. But I cannot tell you how many emails and phone calls I get every day. This is the #1 complaint of people in the city, and we have to do something about it.
Before I turn it over to our two community leaders here, so it's probably not a good idea to negotiate from the press conference days, and I'm not negotiating.
Unless you're the president.
Then you do it all the time, but I actually thought about this on the Meadowview site, since the cry and the plea has been, find another site that can be opened by the winter. So you know what I'm willing to do in terms of the motion tomorrow night? I'm willing to say, pass the plan that I laid out for a women and children's shelter at the site identified, but not have the action go into effect for 2 weeks. And if anybody can come forward with a viable site that can be open by winter, then of course we consider that. And if not, we go forward with the one site that we have. Jay's point here, I think, is worth noting that he is working very aggressively because of some of the constraints on the WX site. It's probably, as you said, April or May. So what are our options this winter? We've got Capitol Park where we're moving people in. Is that enough? That's what we have. That's what we have. We need more. Yolanda Wilkins, please.
Okay. Good afternoon. Mayor, I first want to start by saying thank you for attending the meeting, hearing all of the concerns, and still be willing to offer our branch. I do a lot of traveling. I just came back from New York, and I'm watching mayors, how they rule in their cities. And it's to have a mayor come and meet with your community and then come back and come with another plan says a lot about who we have as mayor in this city. The fact that you listen to all the concerns, the biggest concern was children being safe, being near community centers, some other things. To listen to all of that and come back and say, let's go for the most vulnerable of our population. We talk a lot about loving children and caring about children, but can we put them first? It is not okay to be homeless with your children. That is unsafe. 75% of the girls that I work with have already been sexually assaulted by the time they're 18 years old. So taking into those considerations, having this plan to have somewhere for women, single women with children, a place to go while they're working out permanent situations to where they can live means a lot. You know, having your child go to school and knowing they may return to a car, that is shame. Sacramento, I don't remember Sacramento being this way. I've been living in Sacramento for over 30 years. And I'm from the East. And so for me, it's kind of like always having a way to work out these problems. Homelessness is an issue all over the United States. But at least we're working with a plan and a solution to tailor to the community in which we're looking at. And I'm just very grateful that you took the time to listen to everything we had to say and take those concerns into consideration and come back with yet another plan to say, let's address the women and children. I would pray, most people in here are like religious people or spiritual people, how you treat your children and how you treat the most vulnerable in your community says something about who we are. And I don't know about y'all, but when we look back on history, it would be nice for us to look at Sacramento as a place where we came together and we tried to solve an issue that is a national issue all over the country. But because we're in Sacramento and we're in the West, we use our flexibility to try to solve a problem and to invest in those young people who will be leaders one day and maybe be standing up here as the mayor of the city. So thank you so much for that. And I definitely support this because we have to have a place for our women and children to go and not just back to their cars or to a hotel, which they would have to leave in a couple of days. We have to figure out a long-term plan to solve this. So thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you so much.
I also want to thank you, Mayor, for considering the women and children. Because for my job, I am up close and personal with the families. As the program manager for the Meadowview Black Child Legacy Campaign, over the 171 cases that I have personally case managed, about 80% of those are families that are homeless, and their families, they are women and children. I get about 3 to 7 walk-ins daily of women and children being homeless. For rental increase here in Sacramento, a lot of them being priced out of their places. A lot of them are working. In addition to the partnership, if it wasn't for the partnership of the Department of Human Assistance and Travelers Aid, there is no way I would have been able to have the support of some type of temporary housing for our families while we're working on permanent housing for them. And in addition to that, it was just a family last week that had 7 children, and she's pregnant with twins in a car in 100 degrees with no air conditioning whatsoever. I was able to, with our partnership with the Department of Human Assistance and also Travelers Aid, to get her 16-day motel vouchers for that time of duration until we work on a plan to get her permanent housing. And then in addition from that, some of the other women that I've had, when the youth utilize their 16 days, the shelters are 3 months, 6 months, sometimes 90 days, 6 months, and 3-month wait for them to get into shelter. And during the summer, and maybe the children going to programs, and now coming to the winter, where are they gonna sleep? Where are they gonna be? Where are they gonna bathe? To be able to go to school with the dignity and respect, and for the children to focus on learning and being the best that they can be. And then we need time, more than just 10 to 16 days, to get some of them permanent housing. Because a lot of the affordable housings are full. You have 2-year waiting lists. And then in order for them to afford other things in the working, just getting over those hurdles, they need the support. And with all of the families that I see, to have them have that dignity and respect, and for them to walk with their head up, and for the families to feel proud, and for the children to feel like they have a safe place that they can go to school and feel clean and respected by their peers, it is so imperative that we do yet another plan for them until we can get them to a permanent way. So thank you again, Mayor, for considering our children and our women, because that is the majority of the families that I deal with on a daily basis in this crisis that we are facing right now.
Thank you both. Thank you both very much. We'd be happy to answer any questions. Councilmember Iyer, the community leaders.
Mayor Steinberg, if we're putting the women and children exclusively in this camp, will the city be doing something to secure their safety
Yes.
at this camp? What will we do?
First of all, the new model that we are talking about are not drop-in rehousing centers. We do outreach through our community-based organizations and the leadership in the communities to identify the women and the children who are unsheltered and chronically homeless, and then bring them to the rehousing center. And there will be security, 24-hour security. Go back to the experience we had at Railroad Avenue in North Sacramento this past year and a half, which was a low barrier shelter that was not women and children only. But there, it was the first time out, and there were some challenges. But we talked to community leadership in Woodlake, and they will tell you that the homelessness problem actually got a little bit better as a result of bringing people indoors. So there will be full security to ensure that women, they could be our mothers, they could be our sisters, they could be our daughters, that they can get off the streets and can get healthy and take care of their children and get a job and get into permanent housing. You've got these wonderful community-based organizations and leaders who know how to do it, but you just heard this. How long does it take to get into a shelter? It's not right.
Mayor, what do you do with the men? And don't you risk separating children from their fathers, women from their boyfriends?
Well, first of all, remember, I talked about women, single women, and women who are heads of households. So in those instances, they're not a 2-parent family.
So women with a boyfriend are not eligible?
The boyfriend would not be eligible to, the woman would be eligible, but the boyfriend would not be eligible to live in the shelter. And look, there's sometimes good reason. There is a real good reason for a women's only shelter. Think about women who are victims of domestic violence. Think about all kinds of issues. There are reasons, good reasons, why it is appropriate to have at least 100 beds for women in very vulnerable situations. What do we do with the men? Well, we're trying to build capacity in all of the areas. That's why you don't want to lose sight of maybe the incredible effort here that Councilman Schenirer is doing with the WS, because that will be low barrier for men and women. And we have Capitol Park, which is men and women. If we could stitch together the perfect system and provide it all at one time, or do it all perfectly, we would do it, but we don't have that luxury. Our obligation is to get as many chronically homeless people off the streets as quickly as possible, and in appropriate places where they are safe and where they have a chance to get better. And that's exactly what we're calling for tomorrow.
Mayor, if I understood you right, you mentioned that you're still expecting opposition from Councilman Carr to the women's only?
You should talk, I'm not going to speak for Councilman Carr, but you should talk.
Just sounded like you all had had a discussion.
Well, he and I have been talking. Of course we have. And you know, these gentlemen, we're colleagues, right? And we agree on most things. But here's the thing. Here's the problem with his argument. We all agree there's a huge need. We agree there's a huge need even in the south area of the city. He has, in good faith, actually gone out over the last several months to look for potential other sites. Hasn't found any. Because it's difficult. It's city control, utilities, paved so that we're ready to build. We think we can get this up and running. If not at the beginning of the winter, sometime during the winter, as quickly as possible. It's shovel ready, so to speak. And this will be quality, and it'll be women and children. So you have to ask Councilmember Carr. I want to have the public debate and the vote, and I hope we win. Confident we're going to win the WX issue. And I'm confident we're going to win the repurposing of the 180 beds. This one, I think it's very important that we raise a very basic question to my colleagues and to the community. Are we going to turn our backs on 280 women and children as winter is fast approaching?
Councilman Carr has proposed a 1,000-foot barrier. Is that something that you actively oppose when it comes to schools?
Well, it would exclude this particular site. It would exclude most everything. I mean, what I said to Councilmember Carr is help us in the entire south area find a site that we could put up a sprung shelter for women and children, and I would say yes.
So that
isn't there.
proposed law is something you oppose?
I would oppose it. Yeah, because it would exclude the very site and whatever similar sites there might be. And I don't think, I don't know what's behind your question. You have the right to ask any question that you want. But if the idea is that women and children who happen to be homeless, who happen to be living in their cars, are dangerous by definition, I actually find that quite offensive. Because I think it's that stereotyping of people, but for the grace of God, there go I, that is part of the problem here. They are us. They are us. And a lot of people fall on hard times for a variety of reasons. And by the way, we're talking about kids here too, who are complete innocents, who've got no place to sleep, and they've got no prospect for a better life unless we do everything we can to bring them indoors and under a roof.
The Railroad Drive
Yeah.
Shelter obviously had fixed walls, had services brought in, bathrooms and what have you, though we're still outside. What's the plan for?
We're talking about sprung shelters, and we're gonna, hey Jacob, maybe we should do a video. We should show the video in Mary Lynn to the media here. We have a video that shows that we showed it at the community meeting, that these sprung shelters are high quality, military style shelters. They're very, very nice.
And so for winter showering and bathroom.
Showering, so in Railroad, because we were moving fast as a warehouse, we had bathrooms and showers on the outside and portables. It wasn't ideal.
Right.
Here, we would have shower facilities and restrooms inside in a much more
It also allows for office space, for counseling space, for privacy, for separating men and women.
at both WX too, at WX and Meadowview. Yes.
What about Cal Expo shelter?
So Cal Expo, we are still talking, but, you know, they're frankly slow walking it. And so we're not done there. You know, we may continue to engage, but again, I'm looking at the beginning of winter here, and I want to get started what we can get started as quickly as possible. We don't control Cal Expo.
Mayor, a lot of people say that when you provide these facilities, this is encouraging more people to come to
Oh.
the area. It's a common argument. What would you say to that?
I would say, look at the point in time count that came out just a couple months ago. 93% of the 5,600 people that I cited earlier are from Sacramento County. 93%. That's just not, it's just another stereotype that is not borne out by the facts. These are our people, right? Suffering for a variety of reasons. What do we do about it? And you know, NIMBY, not in my backyard, the homeless problem is already in your backyard. We're trying to bring people indoors and to make it better, not just for the people suffering, but for the people who, but for our communities. Look, I supported, just so it's real clear, last week I supported the city attorney's lawsuit filed against 7, quote, homeless people in the Broadway corridor for engaging in drug-related behavior, antisocial behavior, all kinds of antisocial behavior. I support the lawsuit to ban them from staying on Broadway. So I stand for the communities, and so does Jay as well. We just believe, and I think it's borne out, the more aggressive we are about getting people indoors and to be served, not only do they have a chance at life, but it's much better for the business corridors in the neighborhoods.
Mayor, these are supposed to be temporary. How many years do you anticipate these will be here?
I don't know. I mean, I think we have enough money with the heat money to operate for 2 years. And I think we have to do what we did at Railroad Avenue and even greater, and that is prove success and show that we can bend the curve and actually get thousands of people off the street and that people in the community feel the difference. And we will continue what works.
So indefinitely, 10 years from now, they might still be there?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I mean, hopefully, long within 10 years, we have made such a dent in this problem, both on the permanent housing side, on the service side, and on the rehousing shelter side, that we don't need them anymore. That would be the goal. Okay, thank you all very much. Appreciate it. Appreciate the coverage. We should show that video.
Yeah, I think everyone's at